Tonight we have our car auction. We've nearly 200 cars from various finance houses, banks, and from different liquidations. It should be a very busy auction with buyers from all over Ireland.
2212. Best of luck to everyone. Some lovely lot of product in tonight. Let's get underway with lot number one. Nice one to start with. Start it up, driver, but again, don't move the car. Start it up, but don't move the car after I sell it. Lot number one is a diesel bore, 1900 diesel indirect from Pierce Construction in liquidation and receivership on the O3. As you see it, best buyer, we're going to be on the O3. Get the away, we're going to be, what's that, 500, 5 to bid, at 500, number 500, number 500, at 5 bid, 6, 7, 1,000, 11, 12, 13, 13, number 13, 14, 15, 16, 2 bid, at 2,000 bid a half. D with the number 2 bid, at 2, at 2, at 2, at 2,000 number 2001, 21 bid 2, at 22 number 4 bid, at 22 number 2, number 2, 3, 22 in the cab, at 22 bid here, at 23 bid number 2, 3, at 2300 diesel car, at 22 bid with you, at 22 bid number 2, 3, at the bottom number 2, 3, best bid, at 2300 I have, all finished jets, at 2,300 now, once, twice, what's the number sir, 23, don't lose number 2.
Ο Ρίκι Γουίλσον έχει κάθε λόγο να είναι χαρούμενος. Η δουλειά του πάει από το καλό στο καλύτερο. Οι δημοπρασίες είναι ίσως ο μοναδικός κλάδος επιχειρήσεων που ανθεί πλέον στην Ιρλανδία.
We have seen an increase in business since the end of 2007, which would correspond with the slowdown in the Irish economy. That corporate insolvency end of our business has increased by between 30 to 50% over the last 3 years, and that is primarily through to the increase in the company closures and repossessions happening in Ireland.
At 1,050, at 1,050, number 1,050, number 111, at 1,100, at 1,100, number 1,150.
The most cases we've handled have been in the construction industry. In those cases we would see everything from cranes to excavators, dump trucks, diggers, pickup vehicles, small tools, really every sort of bit of tool and equipment that a construction company would use in their day-to-day business.
What's it worth? 2 to bid, 2 bid, best bid buy for gents, at 2 bid 9, at 200, number 200, number 200 bid. Last one we're going to do no better, at 200, at 250, at 250 bid 3, at 300 bid value gents, at 3 and 3 and 3, middle of me number 300, at 3 and 3 and 3. Last one we're going to do no better, cheapest jet for 300 now middle, at 1,150, at 1,150, number 111, at 1,150.
Η εποχή που ο κόσμος εκστασιαζόταν με τις επιτυχίες του Κέλτικου Τίγρη έχει παρέλθει. Η χώρα μετά από 12 χρόνια εντυπωσιακής ανάπτυξης προσγειώθηκε ανώμαλα στην αγκαλιά του Ευρωπαϊκού Μηχανισμού Βοήθειας και του Διεθνούς Νομισματικού Ταμείου. Στην ίδια θέση με την Ελλάδα και την Πορτογαλία, αλλά για λόγους διαφορετικούς, που ωστόσο έφεραν το ίδιο αποτέλεσμα. Έσπρωξαν την Ιρλανδία από την κορυφή, από παράδειγμα προς μίμηση, στα πρόθυρα της χρεοκοπίας.
The Irish government has asked the European Union for financial aid to tackle its banking and budget crisis.
Tonight, European finance ministers said that package would be worth around 80 to 90 billion euros.
We, the Irish people, have to pay a debt of 50, 60, maybe 70 billion euros because of what the banks did. It had nothing to do with us, it is what the banks did. And it was the government that decided to place that burden on the Irish people. In all your answers to do with your own Brian Cow's culpability for the disaster that has happened in this country, you have talked about the advice you got, you've talked about the bankers and their culpability, the regulator and their culpability, the markets and how they've screwed us up and all that. At no stage have you acknowledged that you are the person now still holding public office who has most culpability for screwing up this country. Can you acknowledge that now?
I don't accept that, Vincent, at all, and I will defend my position throughout my political career in any decisions I took, the context in which I took them, and the rationale for taking them. And when circumstances change, then their policies have had to change.
What's your number, sir? Elegance model as well, so the top model is not Paul.
For the first time in our history, we actually made money, which was in the 90s, and up until this burst. We made money, but we behaved as all groups do who haven't had a record in making money before. We blew it on a party. And we can't have a bunch of idiots running the place the next time, if there is a next time, that we make the type of money we've made as an economy in the past.
You don't think you've contributed to the screwing up of this country?
I don't accept your contention, the premise to your question, that I am the bogeyman that you're looking for, no.
But you, who else? Who else in public office bears anything like the responsibility for the devastation caused to this country more than you?
I don't accept that, and I outlined in detail reasons why I can say that.
375, 15 under 97 cents, ET, listen to this.
But in this case, the Cassandras were correct. And you know what happened to Cassandra. She wasn't listened to.
And finally, with regard to questions that you were asked before and debated before, maybe you won't debate it now. The reality is, and everybody bar you seems to know this, you're a liability, not just to your party, not just to your government, but to the country. Because nobody believes you. And also people know you're the guy most responsible for the chaos that has been caused. Don't you owe it as an act of patriotism to the Irish people to get out now?
Sorry, Vincent, I don't accept the premise of what you're saying.
Η Ιρλανδία ποτέ δεν φημιζόταν ως μια πλούσια χώρα. Ήταν περισσότερο γνωστή για τη φτώχεια και τους λοιμούς που συχνά αποδεκάτιζαν τον πληθυσμό. Όπως αυτός του 1845, όπου μέσα σε 7 χρόνια 1,5 εκατομμύριο άνθρωποι πέθαναν από την πείνα και άλλοι τόσοι έφυγαν από τη χώρα μετανάστες, κυρίως προς τις Ηνωμένες Πολιτείες. Ήταν μία από τις χειρότερες περιόδους της Ιρλανδικής ιστορίας. Σήμερα τα αγάλματα που θυμίζουν εκείνη την εποχή στέκονται απέναντι από τα πολυτελή κτίρια μεγάλων εταιριών και τραπεζών που μέχρι πρόσφατα άκμαζαν, σαν να υπενθυμίζουν στους Ιρλανδούς πως τίποτα δεν είναι μόνιμο ή δεδομένο, ούτε η φτώχεια, αλλά ούτε και ο πλούτος.
I think you have to remember that the Celtic Tiger was really something that happened in the 1990s. So Ireland had been a very underdeveloped economy, and in the mid-1990s it began to grow very rapidly, largely as a result of American investment. So you had this huge boom in America, the IT boom. Out of that, you got a lot of the American multinational corporations had a huge amount of money to invest, wanted to invest it in Europe. Ireland was relatively cheap, was English speaking, had a lot of young labour, young well-educated people, so it was a great place for American investments. And that really kind of set off the Celtic Tiger as we know it.
Για να γεννηθεί ο Κέλτικος Τίγρης, η χώρα έπρεπε πρώτα να γίνει δελεαστική στα ξένα κεφάλαια. Έτσι η Ιρλανδία, χωρίς να της το έχει επιβάλει κανείς, εφάρμοσε από μόνη της ένα αυστηρό πρόγραμμα λιτότητας. Περικοπή των πραγματικών μισθών των εργαζομένων και συρρίκνωση του κράτους και των κρατικών δαπανών. Από την άλλη, οι επιχειρήσεις ευνοήθηκαν και φορολογήθηκαν με μόλις 12%, έναν από τους μικρότερους φορολογικούς συντελεστές στην Ευρώπη. Αυτή η πολιτική δημιούργησε το περίφημο Ιρλανδικό θαύμα, μια χώρα που ο ρυθμός ανάπτυξης ξεπερνούσε το 8%.
Ireland throughout this period was seen as the laboratory in which neoliberal economics were proved to be right. So Ireland was the magic formula. It showed that if you cut taxes and you had very little regulation, the economy would naturally grow. And if you listen particularly to American right-wing politicians during all this period, but also British right-wing politicians and even some right-wing politicians in Europe, they would say, look at Ireland. You know, here was this basket case, this underdeveloped, failed economy. And they adopted the right policies. They cut taxes, they cut regulation. Magically, it's now one of the richest countries in the world. This proves that neoliberalism is not just an Irish formula, it's an international formula which everybody else should follow. And this also had a disastrous effect in Ireland because it contributed to the self-delusion. If you're a small country with a history of failure, and you suddenly got all these people around the world saying, you know, you are the star performer, what you're doing is absolutely right. It enhances the natural tendency which was already there, that just because you were rich now meant you were always going to be rich. History was over. We had nothing to learn from the past.
Ο Κέλτικος Τίγρης βασίλεψε στην Ιρλανδία μέχρι τις αρχές της δεκαετίας του 2000. Μετά όμως, όταν η αμερικάνικη οικονομία παρουσίασε ύφεση, ο Τίγρης μας αρρώστησε βαριά και πέθανε.
The Celtic Tiger really finished in 2001. But weirdly, like a zombie, you know, it had an afterlife. and the afterlife is really what we're dealing with, because the American economy slowed down, the IT boom was over, 9/11 happened, all of that, you know. So the Irish economy naturally would have slowed down. It wouldn't have been catastrophic, but it would have been a movement from very, very high rates of growth to just normal 2-3% a year rate of growth. Would have been fine. Instead, what happened was that the government didn't want the economy to slow down. So they encouraged a new kind of boom, which was based almost entirely on property and banking, and had nothing really to do with, you know, people making things and selling them. It was a classic asset bubble.
Σχεδόν όλη η Ιρλανδική οικονομία βασίστηκε πάνω στην κατασκευαστική βιομηχανία. Ο ένας στους 6 Ιρλανδούς εργαζόταν έμεσα ή άμεσα σε αυτήν.
The government itself was actually cutting taxes for people to get into the property market. They were giving tax deductions, they were giving tax postponements to people to build student hostels, to build nursing homes, to build hotels, to build holiday homes.
Ο κύκλος του χρήματος ήταν απλός. Οι Ιρλανδικές τράπεζες δάνειζαν με χαρακτηριστική ευκολία και με χαμηλά επιτόκια κάθε είδους κατασκευαστή που ζητούσε δάνειο για να χτίσει οτιδήποτε. Επίσης έδιναν δάνεια και σε κάθε καταναλωτή που θα ήθελε να αγοράσει σπίτι. Οι ίδιες οι τράπεζες της Ιρλανδίας δανείζονταν από άλλες τράπεζες του εξωτερικού, με κάλυψη την αξία των ακινήτων που είχαν προσημειώσει.
And the bank lending was being financed not on the backs of deposits in the banking system from you or me putting money in the bank, but from the banks going abroad, especially in France and Germany, and floating off bonds. So German bondholders and French bondholders were lending money to the Irish banks to lend money to people to speculate in the property market.
Έτσι, ο κατασκευαστικός τομέας στη μικρή νησιωτική χώρα πήρε φωτιά. Όλη η Ιρλανδία χτιζόταν από άκρη σ' άκρη. Από το 2001 και μετά, η χώρα θύμιζε ένα απέραντο εργοτάξιο. Δρόμοι, σιδηρόδρομοι, κτίρια για πάσα χρήση και ολόκληρες συνοικίες ξεπηδούσαν σε όλη την Ιρλανδική επικράτεια, σαν μανιτάρια.
I remember a Fianna Fáil politician saying to me a long time ago, long before this, he said, we measure progress by the number of cranes, builders' cranes that you can see on the horizon.
I think the media did play a role in Celtic Tiger bubble. That, for instance, a lot of newspapers made a lot of money out of property advertisements. There were huge supplements in the major newspapers on property supplements, and that there was very little critical comment about what was happening, so that the media, I think, probably failed during that period, and you'd have to attribute some of the blame to the media.
In the period of 4 on to maybe the middle of 06, there was an absolute frenzy as far as property was concerned, and anybody that was able to go to a bank and raise money to buy a property, he could be absolutely assured that within 6 months of his purchase, that the value of that purchase would be doubled. Even go to the local people in the local pub, having a chat over a drink, and the buzzword was, you know, what property have you? Where's your properties? And this is just the ordinary guy that's working in the street. I've just bought an apartment in Cyprus. I've just bought an apartment in Turkey. I have just bought 2 apartments in Spain. I'm going to buy another. I was really totally engrossed in this situation where we have to have property.
Ο Τζόνι Όουενς παραδόθηκε στη μαγεία της αγοράς και έκανε τότε χρυσές δουλειές. Από το λατομείο του τροφοδοτούσε με οικοδομικά υλικά δεκάδες εργοτάξια σε όλη τη χώρα. Και μετά αποφάσισε να χτίσει ο ίδιος. Πήρε δάνειο, αγόρασε τη γη και κατασκεύασε 45 σπίτια στην περιοχή του Μούλιγκαρ, περίπου 1 ώρα μακριά από το Δουβλίνο.
We were going from strength to strength. Every year went by, we were buying more trucks. There was more demand for the products we were producing. We were very dedicated to our job. I didn't spend my time going around the world having a good time. I spent all my time within the quarry operation here working very hard, starting before daylight most mornings and finishing well after dark every day. We thought that was maybe near the top of the business as I would have wanted it. We had a turnover at that stage of in the region of €5 million out of the quarry business.
Την ίδια εποχή, ο μεσίτης Τζόι Κέλλη στο όμορφο προάστιο του Σάτον πουλούσε ακίνητα που κόστιζαν μια περιουσία, το ένα μετά το άλλο.
Probably in 2004. Between 2004 and 2006, prices just went out of control. That house would have came out then at about, at 2004 it was probably worth 650,000. And then it went from that in 2 years to 1.2 million. So that's where the thing got lost.
Σπίτι αγόρασε για εξοχικό η Σουζανό Κάλαχαν. Είχε μια καλή και σταθερή δουλειά, ένα δάνειο που έτρεχε για το σπίτι που είχε αγοράσει στο Δουβλίνο αξίας 800.000 ευρώ και άλλο €500.000 που της έδωσαν εύκολα οι τράπεζες για να αγοράσει το εξοχικό που πάντα ήταν το όνειρό της.
You see your colleagues doing it, so you would do it, and just everybody was doing it. So, and it seemed a very safe option, and at the time, and it seemed lucrative because property prices were rising so quickly. You know, even if you only held on to a property for a year, you would have at least made 20% profit on it. So it was very lucrative. Everyone felt we have plenty of money, we can do this, we can make more money, it's so easy, it can't go wrong, property will never fail you. I mean, there's an old saying that I heard a long time ago when I was buying my first mortgage, and somebody said to me, the only time the property is expensive is the day you buy it, because after that it will make money for you. That, you know, it was as good as gold. It was never going to lose money.
Ήταν τότε που ακόμα και οι φτωχοί πίστεψαν πως υπάρχει ελπίδα. Το κράτος υποσχέθηκε πως θα γκρέμιζε τις παλιές εργατικές πολυκατοικίες στο St. Michael's Estate, μια υποβαθμισμένη περιοχή κέντρο διακίνησης ναρκωτικών. Σχημάτισε μια κοινοπραξία με μία από τις μεγαλύτερες κατασκευαστικές εταιρείες της χώρας, προκειμένου να κατασκευάσει καινούργια σπίτια και να αναπλάσει τη γειτονιά.
In 1998 there were 240 residents living here, so 240 out of about 300 flats were occupied. So all of those people thought that they would get their new houses on this site, and to make it a really vibrant, energetic urban space that people can live in, that families can use, that children can come into over the next number of years.
Η φούσκα των στεγαστικών δανείων έσκασε στις Ηνωμένες Πολιτείες το 2008 και η έκρηξη ήταν τόσο δυνατή που γκρέμισε τη Lehman Brothers και το οστικό κύμα πέρασε τον Ατλαντικό και χτύπησε την νησιωτική χώρα. Η Ιρλανδική αγορά ακινήτων αποδείχθηκε εξίσου σαθρή με την Αμερικάνικη. Οι τιμές άρχισαν να πέφτουν ραγδαία και ο αναπνευστικός σωλήνας που κρατούσε ζωντανή την οικονομία έσπασε. Τα δάνεια κόπηκαν, οι καταναλωτές αποθαρρύνθηκαν, κατασκευαστικές εταιρείες βρέθηκαν με τεράστια χρέη προς τις τράπεζες και άρχισαν να κλείνουν η μία μετά την άλλη.
Drive down, walk down today, and it's empty. The only thing that you might find in it, maybe is a couple of birds flying through, but no persons working. It's like a black hole. You're looking down into this black hole, and you can see no bottom.
Η γειτονιά που έχτισε ο κύριος Τζόνι Όουενς είναι έρημη. Κατάφερε να πουλήσει μόνο 4 από τα 45 σπίτια που είχε κατασκευάσει.
It all deteriorated to the stage where there was absolutely no interest whatsoever in a house of any description. Nobody wanted to buy. I was in, I suppose you could describe a state of despair, having all those houses built, huge amount of money invested, and as I say again, bank money, and no market, no sales. I really didn't know what to do. The first houses we sold on this site here were sold at €295,000 each, and the price we are now selling for is $149,950. So you can see exactly where the price drop has got us. Our indebtedness in the quarry here is plus 7 million. our indebtedness on the building side of the business is 12. So like our total indebtedness is plus 20 million.
Η Σούζαν Οκάλαχαν έχασε τη δουλειά της καθώς η κατασκευαστική στην οποία δούλευε έκανε περικοπές.
But it really took about 7 or 8 months before I realised, hey, I may not be able to pay my mortgage, and what savings I had, I was living on while I was out of work. My combined property value is only worth about 600,000 and I owe twice that to the bank. I don't feel responsible for the situation that I'm in. I do feel that certainly I contributed by taking on a second mortgage for a second property and for possibly being naive in expecting that my salary would always be good and I'd always have a job. Perhaps I should have been more sensible and saved a lot more money of my salary, which I didn't do. So in some ways I contributed to this. So I am fearful every month and every few months of the future. I don't know what the future is, but I have to accept that I possibly may lose the house, and I'll have to accept that. If it goes, it goes.
Και οι άνθρωποι στο St. Michael's Estate που περίμεναν την ανάπλαση της φτωχής γειτονιάς τους έμειναν με τις υποσχέσεις. Ενώ οι εργασίες είχαν ήδη αρχίσει, μπλοκ πολυκατοικιών είχαν ήδη κατεδαφιστεί και πολλοί κάτοικοι είχαν μεταφερθεί αλλού, ο κατασκευαστής αποχώρησε παρατώντας το έργο στη μέση και τη γειτονιά χειρότερα από ό,τι πριν.
And once house prices began to collapse, which they did, the project was no longer of interest to the developer. He had no interest anymore, and it transpired that he was in huge debt with the banks already. He owed something like 1.5 billion euros to banks, as well, you know, that we didn't know anything about at the time. So he was almost bankrupt as a developer anyway at that stage. So what we have left at the end of all of that are places like this.
Οι τράπεζες της Ιρλανδίας, οι οποίες ήταν αδύνατο να επιστρέψουν τα χρήματα που είχαν δανειστεί από τις ευρωπαϊκές τράπεζες, ζήτησαν τη βοήθεια του κράτους. Και το καλό κράτος έσπευσε να τις σώσει με τα χρήματα των φορολογουμένων. Τις εθνικοποίησε, μεταφέροντας τα τεράστια χρέη τους σε όλους τους Ιρλανδούς πολίτες.
Just as Ireland was the great example, supposedly, of the success of neoliberalism, it also became the great example of the lie of neoliberalism. So, you know, Ireland was all about the small state, the state just standing back and letting the market do what the market does best. And then, of course, suddenly when it's in the interests of the ruling class, for the state to suddenly become an interventionist state, which intervenes in the economy and takes responsibility for the banking sector, takes responsibility for all its debts, determines everything that's happening. These are people who, it's just like they went into the casino, they put their money on the table, they won a few rounds, they got crazed, they thought they were going to keep winning, they kept putting their money on the table, they lost. And then they turn around and they go out into the car park and they say to the guy who cleans up their car, they say, here's the bill, you pay my gambling debts. You know, and this is what's happening in Ireland.
We aren't putting money into banks for the sake of banks. Is that as a small country, a small open economy, we need a viable banking system. We cannot afford not to have one. And had we not guaranteed the banks and given the support to the banks, our economic situation in Ireland will be considerably worse than it is today. By putting the support in for the banks, we have guaranteed a future for them. By guaranteeing that future, we are guaranteeing credit for our businesses, for our consumers, and also guaranteeing the savings of those lucky enough to have them.
word from Brussels was that under no circumstances should Irish banks be allowed to fail, because if the bank failed, that meant the shareholders would be wiped out, but so would the bondholders. But in other words, what would happen then is that the problems in the Irish banks would become problems in German and French banks and in savings institutions. The contagion effect would have been from the failure of the Irish banks directly into the German and French banking system. And I suppose understandably, the EU, which reflects very strongly the views of Berlin and Paris, was not enthusiastic at the idea that an Irish government, in not guaranteeing the bonds, would effectively export that problem to the rest of the EU, in particular France and Germany.
Capitalism is supposed to be based on risk and reward. You know, you supposedly have these brave entrepreneurs who take all the risks, and therefore we have to, you know, let them make vast amounts of money because they're taking those risks. But of course the reality underneath that ideology is that when the risks are taken and they fail, it's not the entrepreneurs, it's not the bosses who pay for it, it's actually ordinary people.
Έτσι η Ιρλανδία βρέθηκε ξαφνικά με μια μεγάλη μαύρη τρύπα στα οικονομικά της. Μόνο μία από τις ετοιμόρροπες τράπεζες, η Αγγλο-Ιρλανδική, καταβρόχθιζε 35 δισεκατομμύρια ευρώ κρατικής βοήθειας, ποσό που αντιστοιχεί στο απίστευτο 22% του ακαθάριστου εθνικού προϊόντος.
We had a situation in Ireland where a bank brought down a country. And, you know, it's a hard lesson to be learned that banks will do this. If you do not control banks, this is what they will do. And when you have a banking model which creates multi-millionaires out of the directors that run the bank, provided they grow the loan book, and that's the only measure that at shareholding price, it's a recipe for absolute disaster.
Σήμερα στο τιμόνι της Αγγλο-Ιρλανδικής βρίσκεται ο Άλαν Ντιούξ, οικονομικός σύμβουλος που προσελήφθη από την κυβέρνηση για να βγάλει τα κάστανα από τη φωτιά.
At that stage, this bank and other Irish banks had grossly exceeded all of the normal prudential limits in terms of the concentration of risk by sector and by borrower that banks should observe. So it's clear that in addition to very unwise, imprudent policies by the banks themselves, there were serious deficiencies in the regulatory structure here, which did not spot the emerging problem, although there were a good many warnings. We're now dealing with trying to clear up the mess.
Με το κράτος απλώς να παρακολουθεί και να απολαμβάνει τα κέρδη του τζόγου, οι ελεγκτικοί του μηχανισμοί είχαν ατροφήσει. Ο έλεγχος των τραπεζών ήταν υπόθεση της Κεντρικής Τράπεζας της Ιρλανδίας. Κάποια στιγμή πριν από μία δεκαετία, η κυβέρνηση προσπάθησε να δημιουργήσει ένα νέο ανεξάρτητο ελεγκτικό μηχανισμό. Περιέργως, οι ίδιες οι τράπεζες οργάνωσαν εκστρατεία προκειμένου να μην αλλάξει ο ελεγκτής τους και να παραμείνει στη θέση του.
It's a bit like having the criminals, if you want to use an extreme example, in a society campaigning to keep the local policeman in place. It raises questions. Now that's taking an extreme example, but it puts it into perspective. So a desperate compromise was reached, which meant that the central bank continued on in a slightly different guise to regulate the banks. Now the problem in a small country like Ireland is that you get a thing called regulatory capture, where the people involved in regulation get far too close to the people they are regulating, because at the end of the day it's about people.
I'm still going from town to town, office to office, and business to business, and I won't give up. I will get the money, and that's the way to get money in this country. Just get it into your head and just hunt it. The new rule was paid when paid. When I get the money, I'll give it to you. And this is a case of nobody gets the money, so here we are 2 years on looking for payment, going back 3 or 4 years, you know what I mean? So yeah, it is tough. I just need to look, the minute I get a few bob, you have it. You know I'm good for it. I mean, and that, like I said, every contract is covered by the amount that's owed. Well, like I said, I paid you in the past, you know what I mean, no problem. More than likely get paid today. Yeah, no, I understand you're in trouble. Well, I will, the minute I get it, you have it. And like I said, you can call to the office anytime you want. We're not hiding, and we always answer the phone.
Right, number 2, Turbine Teddy is back in second, but up front, Compass Big Mick is flying down the back here into the third bend and taking off now here.
And it's in the distance, and I can't really see very much.
If I did a job, I have to get paid for it, and that's the way it is. It's not their money, it's my money. If people don't, if I make appointments and they know that I'm coming looking for money and they cancel it, I still go. And I'll still knock at the door. And if they don't see me today, I'll see them tomorrow. And I do this all the time. I've got hardened to this. This company here are agreeing to pay something. We'll see. I mean, I can promise that they're not a bad company.
Φυσικά η κυβέρνηση, για να καλύψει τα τεράστια χρέη των τραπεζών που τώρα είχαν γίνει χρέη του κράτους, πήρε αμέσως σκληρά μέτρα. Η Ιρλανδία ήταν η πρώτη χώρα της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης που εφάρμοσε δρακόντια λιτότητα με τον απίθανο στόχο να μειώσει το έλλειμμα από 14% σε 3% μέχρι το 2014. Μισθοί και επιδόματα σφαγιάστηκαν. Η ανεργία τριπλασιάστηκε. Η χώρα έγινε και πάλι παράδειγμα προς μίμηση. Αυτή τη φορά όμως όχι ως χρυσοτόκος όρνηθα, αλλά ως πρωτοπόρος στον δημοσιονομικό εξορθολογισμό, όπως έλεγαν στελέχη του Διεθνούς Νομισματικού Ταμείου, επικροτώντας τις ενέργειες της χώρας.
The Irish establishment has been obsessed with being good boys, with behaving themselves in the way that the European Union, the IMF, the international markets would want them to behave. So they did everything they were supposed to do, right? So they cut public spending, they attacked the public service, they cut people's wages, they've bailed out the banks. So they've followed exactly the international agenda, and what have they got in return for that? Nothing. The result of that has been disastrous.
Η Ιρλανδία δεν τα είχε καταφέρει. Επειγόντως, το Νοέμβριο του 2010 ζήτησε και πήρε 85 δισεκατομμύρια ευρώ από το Διεθνές Νομισματικό Ταμείο και τον Ευρωπαϊκό Μηχανισμό Βοήθειας.
Behaved exactly as they were supposed to behave. And instead of getting patted on the head, instead of getting rewards, instead of the markets, these all-powerful markets turning around and saying, oh, you are such very, very good children, here are some sweets and now you can go to bed and you can be happy and we'll read you a fairy story. The markets are saying, we don't believe you. I think the big lie in all of this is the idea that markets are rational. That markets tell you to do something and you do it and then they respond positively. What's happened is the market said, oh, you must cut, you must cut, you must cut. And then when you cut the market, say, but because you're cutting, your economy is going to go down the tube, so we can't give you any money. I think Ireland should be held responsible for the case, but not in the way that the Greeks have been told. I think Ireland should be held up as an example of what happens when you're a good boy. If you're a good boy and you expect to get the rewards, well, the Irish case tells you won't.
Of course, one of the reasons that we've had the bailout from the EU and from the IMF is to protect not the Irish banks, but European banks that are owed billions, tens, hundreds of billions by the Irish banking system. And in a way, it's the Irish people has been asked to bail out not really just the Irish banks, but European banks, and a lot of us think that's unfair. That's, I think that we should have let the banks go to the wall and put them into receivership, and we could have kept them going in receivership and disposed of their, come to a deal with creditors. And I see no reason why the Irish people should be saddled with that problem.
Awakening for TDs on the Dáil's first day back. A cement truck crashed into the gates of Leinster House with anti-Anglo-Irish bank slogans emblazoned on its drum. The incident happened just after 7 o'clock this morning. As the truck approached the entrance, it's understood a Garda who was on duty had to jump out of the way. Witnesses said the driver exited the cabin through the roof. He then walked along the top of the vehicle and released a banner which is believed to have said, "Politicians, the people have had enough."
Σήμερα το φάντασμα του Κέλτικου Τίγρη πλανιέται στους εκατοντάδες έρημους οικισμούς που οικοδομήθηκαν την τελευταία δεκαετία. Στις άδειες γειτονιές και στα σπίτια όπου δεν ζει κανείς. Στα χωρίς ζωή επιβλητικά κτίρια του Δουβλίνου και στα εμπορικά κέντρα που ακόμα περιμένουν κόσμο. Στο νέο υπερπολιτελές αεροδρόμιο, σύμβολο της χλειδής και της οικονομικής ευμάρειας, το οποίο δεν χρησιμοποιεί κανείς.
These are the elephants in the room. They're the monuments to our foolishness. So we end up with an airport terminal that nobody is using. We end up with hundreds of thousands of houses throughout the country that nobody is living in. We end up with half-built housing estates, and we end up with a massive destruction of middle-class wealth.
In 2007, Mr. Dick Roach, the then Minister for Housing and whatever, stated that Ireland required 60,000 units per year for the next 10 years. So that was 600,000 houses we were going to wind up with. We can look back now and say, Jesus, where did he get his figure from? Where's this extra population coming from? Where are all those people going to come? Where's all the infrastructure going to come to create jobs to keep those people? Somebody got their figures woefully wrong. Nobody was keeping an eye and nobody cared what was going on as long as the cash was flowing. And we heard every other week the government is awash with money. We have so much money we don't know what to do with it. The Celtic tiger is roaring. Celtic tiger is fairly quiet now and there's not much money. Where did all this money go? We were awash with money 5 years ago. Where did it go? Next question, was it ever there?
όλη τη διάρκεια αυτής της διαδικασίας δεν έγινε ούτε μία γενική απεργία. Το μόνο που έκαναν τα συνδικάτα ήταν να διοργανώσουν μερικές πορείες διαμαρτυρίας στο Δουβλίνο.
On any basis of empirical evidence, where countries have had general strikes, seems to me that it hasn't made much difference. So we have to try to focus on what will get us a different result. There's no point in just simply having a general strike for the point of view of making everybody feel better. It has to produce a result. It hasn't done much for your country.
I think the trade unions are in a difficult situation because they are very heavily concentrated in the public sector. And the public sector unions are generally perceived by most of the public, rightly or wrongly, as having been, in a sense, complicit with government. You know, they were very adept at doing deals with government.
Society will pay every penny up front.
To a large extent, the trade union movement has been emasculated, and the tension which usually is which used to be in society between the trade union movement and the capitalist class is really gone here, which is one of the explanations why we don't have social unrest.
I want to say to you that we've been inspired by the people in Greece, right? And I think it's really important that they resist that whole neoliberal agenda and their jobs being taken away, and of people doing exactly the same things to them in Greece that they did here. I think the problem that we have here, and the same problem you have in Greece, is that we are paying for other people's mistakes.
So it's people that say ripped off this country, they got away with murder. I'd like to hear one or two of them actually saying sorry. And they're trying to keep accepting things. It has to stop somewhere. Because otherwise, the government will just treat you like mushrooms. Keep you in the dark and cover you in shit.
Ο Φίλιπ Ουίλαν, ηλεκτρολόγος μηχανικός, είναι άνεργος εδώ και 4 χρόνια. Ζει την οικογένειά του με το επίδομα των 640 ευρώ, το οποίο η κυβέρνηση αποφάσισε πρόσφατα να περικόψει κι άλλο.
The cuts that have been introduced by this government, I think, is grossly unfair. That everyone that's on the lower scale is getting hit harder and harder, and it's getting harder and harder to survive. Personally now, myself, I'm lucky that I am 53 and my mortgage is actually paid for. But there's people out there and they're going to lose their houses. They ask the cheek of them to turn around and take €1 off the lowest paid workers in this country, I think is an absolute disgrace. My advice now to any person that is skilled, that has a trade or a profession, and they're sitting here and they're not working, they're absolutely mad. Get up off your backside and go away and try and do something else, because you're going to be lost here. Don't be hanging around here moaning to say that I can't get a job and I can't get a job. If you have no ties, have a go. At least you made an effort.
Το εντυπωσιακό στάδιο Αβίβα έχει μόλις περατωθεί, ένα ακόμα σύμβολο του Κέλτικου Τίγρη. Όμως κατά τραγική ηρωνία, η πρώτη εκδήλωση που φιλοξένησε δεν ήταν μια μεγάλη αθλητική διοργάνωση, αλλά ένα συνέδριο για προοπτικές μετανάστευσης στο εξωτερικό. Το γέμισαν χιλιάδες νέοι από όλη τη χώρα.
There's a lot of people our age. We're all looking for
similar jobs, and there's just not enough jobs at the moment to go around or enough funding to keep these jobs going. So yeah, I think I'm definitely going to be going abroad.
It's just unfortunate at the moment that an awful lot of people who are my age are leaving, and if I were to go and ask all of my friends who graduated with me from school what are they doing, they all answer, oh, I'm going to Canada, Australia, the US, to the continent. And it's quite sad, but it's a reality, and it's not the first time Ireland has had to deal with such a problem like this. And particularly in the 80s, people went to America and England, etc., but they did return, a lot of them. Some of them found happier lives where they settled. Some years ago when I started university, it was pretty much guaranteed that we'd have a job and good prospects of getting quick promotion and making a good living. And now it seems that all of those hopes are now completely obliterated.
Ireland is a small country. There's the rest of the world. There's plenty of opportunity out there. I think I will definitely find a job in some other country.
Irish society is going to become, demographically speaking, quite elderly, because all of my generation are leaving. This year it's proposed that 100,000 people of my age in their 20s or maybe their early 30s are going to leave that country. I think that the future prospects of this country are very poor indeed.
As down the glen one Easter morn to a city fair rode I. There armed lines, marching men in squadrons pass me by. No five-de-down, no battle drum did sound its dread tattoo. By the angel's bell o'er they feast well rung out through the foggy dew.
Our forefathers died to get this country free. We're Irish, but we don't own Ireland. Ireland is owned now by somebody from thousands of miles away, and it's a disgraceful situation to which our government and our bankers are responsible.
And from the plains over royal myth, strong men came hurrying through, while Britannia's hounds with the long range guns sailing through the foggy dew.
That certainly is a humiliation for the Irish state, and is quite a reversal. We placed such store in gaining independence in 1922, and now to have it compromised in this way is, well, as I say, humiliating.
What's wrong with an awful lot of the politicians and around this world, not just in this country, they don't act the way their head is built. And what I mean by that is, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, but politicians have 2 mouths and 1 ear. They just don't listen.
Oh, back through the glen I rode again, and my heart with grief was sore. For I parted then with a valiant man who I never shall see more. But to and fro in my dreams I go, and I kneel and pray